Hello and welcome. In today's video I'm going to show you how I made these. It's not a tutorial as such because I'm no expert. These are for a very special quilt that I'm making for my very special birthday. Anyway, it's my 60th birthday. Let's just get it out there. These are for a quilt I'm making for my 60th birthday. And I'm no expert at embroidery, but I'm going to show you how I made these dogs, a cockapoo and a cavapoo. You've probably seen the little cavapoo in some of the videos. She's Millie and she's my dog. This one is my mum's dog, Jess. And along with many other things, many other personal things, they're going to be in this very special quilt, which I'm making for my 60th birthday. So let's get started. Using my light box, I traced a picture of the dog that I wanted straight onto the fabric. I'm using a friction pen, so I'll either be able to iron it off later, but chances are I won't need to on this one because it's going to be a black dog. So I carefully trace all the way around the edge of my dog. This dog is a black cockapoo called Jess. And here it is, all finished. Not sure if you could see that. Now, to get the right texture of the dog's fur, I'm going to use wool because I want it to be quite, well, it's poodle-like. A cockapoo is a cross between a cocker spaniel and a poodle. So the fur's a little bit like a poodle's, it's quite fluffy. So I thought wool would give me the best texture. So I'm using black wool because she's a black dog. I should point out that Jess actually only has one eye. So when I get to the eyes, I'm only going to give her one eye on, I think it's the, oh, I can't remember which side it is, but anyway, she's going to have one eye. So the first thing that I'm going to do here is just go around the edge of the outline. And I'm using a back stitch to do this. I'm doing it quite roughly because, as I said, the texture of the fur is quite rough and I don't want a nice smooth edge. So I'm slightly overlapping on some of the stitches to give the right effect. And I'm just tightening up my embroidery hoop here because it seems to have come a little bit loose. I won't show you the whole of me sewing all the way around the outline, but I'll just show you a little bit just so you get the idea of what I've done. So it's all different length stitches, some slightly overlapping the previous stitch to get the right texture of the coat. Here I go again, I've sped up a bit. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just sew all the way around the edge of the outline just so you get the basic shape of the dog. And here we are. I've done quite a lot here and I'm just about to finish off the last little bit. When I'd finished all of the outline, I started to fill in the ears first. I actually went out and bought myself a bigger embroidery hoop because I thought it would be a bit better. So to fill in the ears, I think I did a back stitch. And I did sort of like one big stitch next to a smaller stitch, then a big stitch. So all the stitches were kind of overlapping and interlocked. I just thought it would give a better effect than doing them all the same length in blocks or anything. So I did a long one, a short one, a long one and a short one. And continued like that until I'd finished all of the ear. After doing part of the ear, I decided then to concentrate on the nose because that was quite a defining part of the dog. If I'd have got that wrong, then I don't think she'd have looked much like the dog that she is. So I'm using a mottled grey and black wool to highlight, I'd say, some of the parts. So I'm going to use it for around the edge of the ears to mark where the edge of the ears are and the legs, and maybe put some little bits of it here and there. And as I go around her nose, she's going to have a nice black nose. I'm stitching outwards because that's the way the fur grows. So I'm sewing outwards from the nose. The same thing happens around the eyes. The fur grows outwards away from the eyes. So that's how I'm doing it. I'm stitching away from the nose all the way around the edge so that I can then fill the nose in black. And when I've sewn all the way around the nose like this, I then start on the side of one of the ears, just so there's a definite edge to the ear so we can see where the face and the ear start and finish. For the nose, again I go back to the black and I'm just using a satin stitch. So I'm just doing a plain satin stitch until the nose area is all filled in. When the nose is finished, I started sewing from the nose outwards, going round. I think you can see here how I'm doing it. So it's from the outside of the nose to the nose, and I then fill in the bits that I've missed. So it should be all finished. I did a row of the grey colour around the nose, but I also did a row of the grey colour a little bit out from the nose, and it's this part that I'm filling in to actually make the dog's muzzle, do you call it? That's what I'm trying to do anyway, so hopefully it will look like the nose sticks out a little bit. I'm not sure whether it will or not, but that's the idea. So I'm going from the outside to the inside, all the way around the nose, and hopefully it will look something like a dog's nose. It's not looking much like it at the moment, but I'm going to persevere and hope that it all comes together in the end. And this is how the dog's nose looks so far. Now I move on to finishing the ear that I started. So exactly the same process. It's a bit random, a little stitch, a big stitch, a little stitch, a big stitch, and just keep going till the whole area is covered. Now you won't want to watch me filling in all of the ear and indeed all of the other, so I shall do that all off camera and show you the next part when I come to it. The first ear is finished and I've made a start on one of the eyes, and I'm now doing the second of the eyes. So as you can see, I'm doing the same stitch again, where I go from the edge of the eye to the outside and stitch away from the eye. This is the eye actually where Jess doesn't have an eye. I've already done the one where she does, and so this one is going to be a little bit tighter because we don't need to put an eye in there, but it's the same process from the centre of the eye to the outside, and just keep going until I've gone all the way around the eyes. This is the way that these dogs' fur grow. It grows out away from the eyes. Probably all the dogs go like this, but I happen to have a cavapoo. This is a cockapoo, and they're pretty similar. Next, I add the eyes. I'm going to do brown eyes, as that is the colour of the dog's eyes. And again, I'm using a satin stitch, as I did for the nose. And on the side where Jess doesn't actually have an eye, I am just going to put a very small suggestion of an eye. Not sure why I'm doing this, but I just thought it would look okay, so that's what I've done. So she's got one nice big eye and one tiny little eye on the other side, and then I just finish off by tying a knot or sewing a stitch and threading my needle through the loop, then pulling tight, and then I bury my thread inside the other stitches. She's starting to look a little bit more like a dog now. Now, as I said at the beginning, I am not an embroidery expert. I'm just making things up as I go along. I don't really know what I'm doing, so this is how I've done it, not how you should do it. I'm not trying to show anybody how to do this. I'm just showing you what I've done, because this is what I've been working on for the past few weeks, and I just thought I'd share it with you. So I continue to fill in all of the area around Jessie's face and head, going in the direction that I think her fur would be going in, but it's all rather random and there's no logic to what I'm doing really. I'm just doing what I feel like, a bit like an artist painting a picture, though I'm painting the picture with this wool. That's how I'm going about it. Again, I'm not going to show you all of this because it will be a little bit boring to watch me doing this, so I'll come back later when I've done a little bit more. Here we are with all the face finished, and I've started on the body a little bit, so I'm just going to carry on sewing a little bit here. I'm doing exactly the same as before, sort of random stitches, one long one, one short one, and filling in a large area. I'm going to carry on like this until I get down to where you can see where the legs start, and then I'm going to do a little bit of the grey. We're almost at the point where the legs start here, so I'm going to stop in a minute and do the grey. Once I'd finished filling in the top part of Jessie's body, I then took my grey. Well, it's a black and mottled grey wool, so there's little flecks of grey in it. I didn't want it to be too grey, and it was the best colour that I could find to define the legs, the feet and the face features. So I went around all of the edges of the legs, the feet, to mark the outline of these features. Then I filled in each of the sections using this same random stitch, a long stitch, a short stitch. It's quite random because the fur on a cockapoo is quite messy actually, so I didn't want it to look too neat, so it's a little bit messy. I continued to fill in the rest of Jess's legs and feet until it was all done. You may notice that my embroidery hoop isn't very tight. I had real difficulty tightening it up because my hands are not very good, and especially with the thickness of the wool where I'd already embroidered, it was quite difficult for me to get the hoop on. So you will notice that the fabric is puckering up around the edges. It's not very flat, and so I'm going to have to come up with a solution to solve this problem. Jess was the second dog that I've made, and the same problem happened with the first one, so I suspected I may have a problem when doing Jess. So what I've done here is ironed on some Bonder web. You iron it on to the wrong side of your fabric. You can tell which is the right side of the Wonder web to iron onto your fabric because it's kind of got a bit of a pattern on it. It's textured, and the textured part is the glue. So you put the glue part on the wrong side of your fabric and iron it, and then, well, you press it. So you use your iron as if you were pressing, so you hold it down for a few seconds, move on to the next area, hold it down for a few seconds until it's stuck, leave it to cool, and then you can peel it off. And when you peel it off, it will leave behind the glue. So you now have the glue on your fabric, or in my case on your woolen dog. You'll have your glue on the dog, so now you can stick your dog onto another piece of fabric. But before we do that, we need to cut round the edge of the dog very carefully with a small pair of scissors, trying to get as close to the embroidery as you can, but don't cut into any of your stitches. Now we can transfer the dog onto another square of fabric. We put the dog on the fabric, right side facing up, and then we press. I've turned the fabric over, so I'm ironing on the wrong side of the fabric. I didn't want my iron to burn my wool, so once I had my dog, Jess, attached to the piece of fabric where I wanted her, I then began to sew all the way around the edge to cover up any little bits of fabric that I'd left behind when I cut out Jess, and just to finish it off and attach it a little bit more to the fabric. The Bonder web will attach your fabric or your wool, whatever you're using, to the fabric quite securely, but I just wanted to secure the edges a little bit more and make sure that we couldn't see any of the original fabric coming through. And that's it. That's my Jess dog finished. My black cockapoo is finished. All I need to do now is embroider her name at the side. So I embroider her name in blue. So I wrote her name on the piece of fabric with one of my friction pens so it will iron off later, and then I'm embroidering Jess onto the square using a back stitch, and I'm using a blue thread. And that's Jess all finished. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, could you please like and subscribe?